Hey guys, if you don't recognize me, this is Lord Jackal. I know I look way different, I just got a haircut, but I needed to get one for the short film, and this is what they wanted. Even though it's a huge leap away from what I normally look like, I hope you can accept the difference. This just had to happen. Anyway, as you know, I'm doing a 64 subscriber special. Now, the reason I picked 64 subscribers isn't just because I wanted to do a special and that was the number of subscribers I had at the time. It's also because the Nintendo 64 is a system that is very dear to my heart. First off, it was a system that I was actually conscious and able to desire. So when I got it for Christmas, it was a big deal. The Super Nintendo, believe me, it's a great system. It's just I wasn't old enough to go, I want this, you know? Second of all, I loved the controller. It's honestly my favorite controller that Nintendo's done so far. I know that they haven't picked a set controller and it's changed every system, unlike Sony or Microsoft with their systems. But if they did pick one, I would want it to be the 64 controller. Now, it's gotten a lot of complaints about it being hard to use, but honestly, I just thought it was unique. And once you decided how to hold it for that game, it wasn't really hard. It was just different. And I liked it. It felt innovative in a way that was more subdued than the Wiimote, it's motion controlled, you know, that sort of thing. Maybe I'm just being stupid, I don't know, but I really liked the controller. I miss cartridges. I love cartridge gaming. Like, there's just something about popping it in that's different than, that sounded dirty. There's just something about sticking in a cartridge that's different from a disc for me. I don't know. I guess it separates the experience from watching a movie, you know? Yeah, like I don't want it to be like a movie. I play Metal Gear Solid. Anyway, the big thing about the 64, though, what really pushed it over the edge, was the game selection. Here are my top 12, because I really couldn't pick between a few of them. Number 12. Harvest Moon 64. Harvest Moon 64. Believe it or not, I was addicted to this game for a long time. Something about it just kept me playing. Long past when the story ended. Long past any reasonable sense of accomplishment. I just wanted to keep playing. I haven't felt this way about a Harvest Moon game since, honestly. I feel like they get dull, a bit repetitive. There's not a lot to keep me playing. The characters don't feel as real. It's too cutesy. Something about 64 and the gameplay style just felt more real to me, and it felt way more engaging than the Harvest Moon games since then. Maybe I'm just being nostalgic, but it's the one that's appealed the most to me out of the series, and I think it was honestly one of the better games for the 64. I mean, it's way outside of my genre, and I still loved it. Number 11. GoldenEye! Now look, I'm not a huge shooter guy, but GoldenEye was awesome. I recently got a 64, again, over the summer, and one of the games that we had for it was GoldenEye, and so I went back playing it, and I was like, my god, shooter controls were so much different back then. And you know, it actually felt cool. There's no doubt that of all the James Bond games, GoldenEye was probably the best, even though it may have been outstripped by more recent games that have had better graphics and more power, ability for more weapons and such. GoldenEye was really great for its time. Like, it was a very, very good game, especially compared to the other James Bonds at the time. The World Is Not Enough didn't really match up to GoldenEye for me. I don't even know if I had seen a Bond movie yet, but GoldenEye drew me in. It was more than a licensed game. It was a very, very well-polished shooter that was fairly innovative for its time when it comes to shooters. For example, the guards would run towards alarms and you'd have to stop them, depending on what order you shoot them in. You could systematically take them out in the right order so that they don't see the other people dying, and it was really much more than just a run-and-gun game. Number 10. Mario Party 2. I detest the Mario Party series. I never want to play Mario Party. It's boring to me. It's just a bunch of repetitive games that aren't really engaging. The pacing is slow. Except for Mario Party 2. Mario Party 2, I don't know what it was, if they were still being really original or what, but that game entranced me. I would play it for a long time, and I would never really get tired of it. The mini-games always thrilled me. The pacing didn't seem as off. I didn't feel bored waiting for everybody else to go. I actually felt a tension. I don't know. Attention meaning A, tension, not like attention, like, oh, I'm paying attention. Number 9, Pokemon Stadium 2. Pokemon Stadium 2. Now, some people might disagree with this because it's not really a full-out game in its own right. But I put so much time into this, you have no idea. I'd put my Pokemon game in the little back of the controller. For those of you who didn't know, when the 64 came out, there were all sorts of attachments you could put into the back of the 64 controller. One of them was a Game Boy Color game player. You would stick it in there. Actually, I talked about this with my differences between Wii U and 3DS video when I mentioned Mario Tennis. You'd put the little Game Boy adapter in there, you'd stick the cartridge in, and you would link it to the 64 game. With Pokemon Stadium, and then its sequel, Pokemon Stadium 2, which far outstripped the original, you could transfer your Pokemon over, like on Battle Revolution, except Battle Revolution is a horribly watered-down version of Stadium 2. It was a big step back. I didn't understand why they did it. You could play your Pokemon game on the big screen. You could just put it in there and play. You wouldn't have to worry about batteries. You could see everything much more clearly. You played with an actual controller. You could play with your friends watching without them hunching over your shoulders creepily. There were mini-games that were actually good mini-games that you'd actually want to play. There was its own story mode, getting through the gym leaders. That was actually really difficult. You had to train the right Pokemon and then transfer them over to try and take down these gym leaders who were so much harder than the ones in the Game Boy games. Best of all, it had a Pokédex. Like a full-out Pokédex. It was actually like an academy sort of thing, but you could look up everything. You could look up eggs, you could look up type matchups, you could study everything. Now, this doesn't have the same impact anymore now that the internet is more prevalent, but before then, if you had Pokemon Stadium 2, you were a well-informed Pokemon gamer. So it may not have been a full-out game in its own right, but it was such a delightful addition that Nintendo really hasn't matched since then, so far as like a companion game. Number 8, Star Fox 64! Star Fox 64 is the most popular game of the franchise, although it's admittedly a small franchise, for a very good reason. Star Fox 64 is just flat out the most fun. Although, actually, I do like Adventure better, but that's because I'm more of a adventure game guy than a shooter game guy. But still, Star Fox 64, oh my god, like, that is Star Fox to the extreme. The levels are constantly moving, they're fast, they're challenging. You don't get bored of playing the same thing over and over again. Well, I guess you can, but it's definitely got a lot more replay value than a lot of other rail shooters and shooters in general. The characters are memorable for good and bad reasons. The gameplay, like I said, is fast and addictive. It's overall just a great game. It's solid. I wouldn't say it stands out as an amazing experience, but it's a very, very strong experience, and it's very iconic. And it's a personal favorite of mine.
Number 7 is a Star Wars Rogue Squadron.
Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Oh my god, that was a great game. Like, I don't know why Nintendo hasn't taken some of the stuff from Rogue Squadron and applied it to some of their own series. I guess maybe in Star Fox they may have a little bit. Well, no, not really. Rogue Squadron was a perfect example of a really, really good plane shooter. Like, between all the different ships you could fly, all the different missions, how different they were, you'd try the different ships, each of them having their own special missiles and such. Star Wars has had a string of fairly good gameplay-based games. The stories haven't always been fantastic, but the gameplay's usually been pretty good, and I think Rogue Squadron is one of their best ones. It was great. I loved playing it. I tried to get all the gold medals. Some of the missions were hard. Very, very hard. Hard. Now, unfortunately, you didn't get to hear Jar Jar talk very often. I like Jar Jar. Everybody else hates him, but I don't know. Maybe I relate to him too much because my voice is horrendously high-pitched, and nobody really likes me either. But something about Jar Jar speaks to me. Anyway, Rogue Squadron was fantastic for its time, and it still holds up fairly well today. I played it recently. Can't remember when, but it still held up. I still had a lot of fun with it. they've kept its spirit alive, but I don't think it's been fully realized again since Rogue Squadron.
Number 6. Super Mario 64!
Super Mario 64 is legendary for a reason, baby. Oh my god. Talk about amazing gameplay, tons of replayability. I mean, you got the same levels over and over again, but you wanted to keep going back. You wanted to keep finding more things, and you wanted to keep trying to do the other things. It wasn't so hard that you couldn't get through it if you were younger, but it was hard enough that in order to 100% it, you had to work at it. It was a game that was available to all sorts of gamers, whether you were just starting out, or whether you had been gaming for a long time and you were a platforming master. It introduced a system that has carried on through many other games since, with the Sunshine game and Galaxy. Other games have taken from it for a reason.
Number 5.
Super Smash Brothers!
Super Smash Brothers. Everybody knows I love Super Smash Brothers. Everybody knows that everybody loves Super Smash Brothers. We all like Super Smash Brothers. And the original was very, very good. It was groundbreaking when it came out. Nobody had done a fighting game like it before. We had fighting games, but they didn't have the same style of open movement, knocking people off a stage instead of depleting their HP. There was nothing like it at the time. You got to play as all your favorite characters. I don't really need to say much about this. This was a fantastic game.
Number 4.
Donkey Kong 64.
DK64. Oh my gosh, this game was beautiful. I wish they had made more along that style. It was incredibly innovative. It had a delightful cast of characters. Not just in the main Kongs, but I mean in the pigs that you had to defeat at the end of each level. I think they were Scoff and Trough. And even the villains, the bosses that you fought, had hilarious animations. The armadillo bugging out every time you hit it, for example. The fight against a cardboard cutout of K. Rool. It was a fantastic game. I honestly don't have any complaints about it. If you guys haven't played it, get it off of the Virtual Console. It is a huge departure from the normal Donkey Kong series, but it is amazing. And it has some of the best humor in any Nintendo game. It is overall just one of their best games produced, in my opinion. Definitely one of the best Donkey Kong games. It depends on whether you're more into the country games or, it's just a style preference, because there is no other Donkey Kong game like it, but this one is fantastic.
Number 3. Paper Mario.
Paper Mario. I love the Mario RPG games. All of them so far. I love the Mario and Luigi games. I love the Paper Mario games. And you all know that I love 7 Stars. Now, Paper Mario was the first game they made after Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars. It was their first one for the 64, and it kicked off a fantastic franchise. It was incredibly innovative, and even though I think Thousand Year Door is a little bit better, the original was really good. Thousand Year Door isn't better because the original wasn't good. Thousand Year Door is better because they took something that was amazing and still made it fresh and built on it and made it even better. Nintendo can do fantastic things, guys, and I think Paper Mario is a good example. Who would have even thought of that idea? Like, honestly, I want to be teleported back in time to sit in that development room and see that idea get pitched. It's a fantastic idea! Anyway, Paper Mario, I think, is the series that has best developed the Mario characters. I mean, there is more humor in those games. Okay, well, 7 Stars had really well-developed characters. However, I think Paper Mario took it further. Yeah, I would say that. Part of it is because of the system limitations between the Super Nintendo and the 64. Part of it's just because Nintendo has developed as a storytelling company over time. If you haven't noticed, their games have gotten better and better at telling stories. Not just in the Mario series, although honestly, I think Paper Mario had better storytelling than Galaxy did. But look at the Zelda series. Zelda has been rocking the story lately. I don't know what it is, but... Speaking of the Zelda series...
Numbers 1 and 2. The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
It is hard to choose between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask is my preferred game. It's my second favorite Zelda game, by the way. However, I don't think it's entirely fair to give all the credit to Majora's Mask when it took quite a bit from the base that Ocarina of Time had already built. However, Majora's Mask story was beautiful. I mean, Ocarina of Time had good story. It had some engaging characters. It was a good game, by all means. There was nothing I can complain about with Ocarina of Time. Like, the only critiques I would have is more of something. More of something that was already good in the first place. And really, Nintendo, like I said before, Nintendo's been growing. They were still figuring things out. I mean, they're pioneering most of the stuff that they do. But Majora's Mask took each character and developed them so fully through tons of side quests, through a smaller emphasis on the dungeon crawling, less about the saving the universe sort of thing from Ganondorf, and more about saving these individual people from being crushed by the moon. It wasn't just that this moon landing would ruin everything. It was more that you genuinely cared about these people in this charming little town, in this fairly small world map compared to some of the other Zelda games, but a very, very full world map, for sure. There was not one wasted area, I don't think. Everything is fleshed out. The characters are beautiful. Ugh. Now, of course, Ocarina of Time was the original innovator, so you have to give that credit too. But if I had to choose just on which game I liked more, Majora's Mask would edge out Ocarina of Time just a little bit. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. It's been a lot of fun to make this list. There are some games that I adore that I had to cut out, just because, like I said, the library was so impressive. This isn't my 64 subscriber special, but I still wanted to do this, just because I was thinking about the 64, and, you know, I've been thinking about doing my opinion on games sometimes, just random stuff. You know, I thought about doing one for Metal Gear Solid, just talking about why I like the series. But I decided to do a Let's Play instead. Speaking of that, I've almost got enough money. I've picked up more shifts at work. I work every morning now before school. So that's good because I get to keep my afternoons and evenings to work on videos and such. I'm just going to get a little bit less sleep, but who needs that? I'm at the age where I can get by without sleeping. So why not do it? I made $11 just off of the last video I made. Once I hit 100, I'll actually get a paycheck. And if I get that paycheck, I'm going to be in the clear to get a Dazzle, to get all the equipment I need. Otherwise, you know, I may have to wait a little bit, but it's not a huge deal. I will be able to afford one probably within 2 weeks. Don't hold me to it, because I don't know what's going to happen financially. New York's an expensive place. And I'm going to lose a few hours because I'm shooting the short film this Saturday. I'm so nervous for that, but I've been preparing. I'll let you guys know how it is. I'll probably do an update just on that whole experience. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I've got 39 questions out of the 64 now, so send in more. I'm almost there, and as soon as I get enough questions, I'm going to do the whole video. I'm not going to wait to do it. So send in the questions. As soon as I'm full, they'll be coming your way. Thanks for watching, guys.